Hello, beautiful warrior women. Karen here. Sorry for the late start. Facebook was playing with me. It was saying that my camera wasn't working. I'm hoping my camera is working. Somebody give me a fingers or a heads up. If you can, let me know you can hear me. Anybody? Maybe I will plug in my trusty microphone so you can hear me better. Okay. Whoop. Now all hell's gonna break loose in my office, I tell you. It's one of those days. Okay, guys. And I've got my dog at my feet who's lazy. You have to move. You know, retrievers are the laziest dogs in the world. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Ah, yes, I can. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. I'm taking a little bit of a different turn today, although for the people who know me, this actually isn't much of a divergence for me. I'm the fitness, wellness, weight loss, body shaping, body transformation girl, as some of you guys know. And some of you who have worked with me know that there is so much more that us women, get that hair off, that us women are trying to do in this life. And there's so much more to healthy living than just the body. So I do a lot of metaphysical, a lot of spiritual, a lot of woo stuff, because that came into my life when my life went sideways, and I'll go through that a little bit. So I just want to share my story because I think my story is our story, right? And it's really important that we understand that all of us are in this together. All we want to do as women on this planet, women over 40, well, all women, all we want to do is get healthy, be healthy, stay healthy, be there for our loved ones, be able to enjoy our life, and be able to be joyful and confident and grounded and proud and living on purpose. And so a big piece of what I've done over the years, I started on this personal growth thing, seriously on it, when I was 29. So it's been over 30 years for me, mainly because I have always been an insatiably curious person and very motivated, and always stayed open to many things because of that curiosity. And I'm a lifelong learner, as I know some of you are too. And that allows me to be able to expand my world and work on it. I mean, this stuff takes time, right? It takes time and implementation. It's not just reading a self-help book. And so I always say you can't take a self-help book in the corner with a cup of tea and expect to be healed or grounded or empowered. It really is the action piece. And it's that action piece where a lot of people fumble. They make it an intellectual experience because it's safe in our heads, right? But it's when we have to put it out there, and that's what we have to do in order to live healthy, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual as well. So today I just want to talk a little bit about what happens when the shit hits the fan. Yeah, what happens when life takes us out. Here's my philosophy. You can ask me, oh, hello, yeah. Nice to see you. When stuff happens, most people check out, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. Okay, there's little stuff and there's big stuff. There's little stuff that happens along the way, stressful jobs, stressful employers, employees, all that kind of stuff, and it may not be little, but there's bigger stuff where we have sickness or illness or the death of a loved one, or maybe losing our job or going bankrupt, all that kind of stuff. So it really is about the emotional impact. It's really not about what happens, but the emotional impact. And what I know in my work is that this floods the body too. And so we're going to go into a little bit around that because I'm a follower of Joe Dispenza and Deepak Chopra. He talked about this when I was reading him 30 years ago about the chemical signatures of certain emotions in the body: stress, anger, rejection, fear. They have their own chemical signature, and it gets released from the brain, goes into the body. and the body reacts and sends it back, and we get in this loop. So this is where I'm always about resetting and reframing our default setting, our habits, our emotional habits, our self-talk, our belief system, and our self-identity. Because unless that changes, nothing really changes. The foundation of everything is not the body, in my view. It is the mindset. It is the internal workings, and a lot of it is unconscious. And unless we get to the root of that and make changes there, this is why we fall away from a healthy living program. This is why we have a bad relationship with food. This is why we might have a bad relationship with money, and we're always broke. And or we're not in the job that we like, or we're fearful of moving ahead and taking risks, all that stuff. That's all our thinking, guys, and it can change. It's so powerful, and it can change so quickly, and it's this awesome superpower that we have. But most people shy away from it because they don't know or they don't believe, so I want to go into that. So in my world, when I started into bodybuilding, which was in the 80s, there was only bodybuilding around. So and I've always been an organic athlete, as you guys know. No drugs, no fat burners. Back then, we didn't even have protein powder. It was just whole foods, hard training, good hydration, sleep, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And yes, I always worked, so I always had a job to go to. And so for me, it was the physicality of it. But what I also recognized was that there was a huge mental aspect to it, and that's what kept me going. It was more about making a promise to myself that I would always claim my health, because I came from a tourist town where there was a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol and a lot of bad men. And I fell into that for a lot of years. And when I got myself out of that, which was pretty trying, when I got myself out of that, I went down to like 90 pounds and jaundiced and very sick. And I remember thinking I almost died doing that, but it was because there was so much pain in my childhood that I didn't know how to process. I'm a high achiever, I'm an A+ student, I'm the perfectionist, and all of that stuff was so much weight on my shoulders that I finally collapsed and went ricocheting out the other end to the other side of the tracks. And I lived there for quite a few years. And when I lost my health and it got quite serious, that was when I decided I need to make a change, and I was very close to not being on the planet, and that was when I made a shift, and I started hanging around the gym, and I started hanging around the athletes and the downhill ski team, and I remember watching them train, and when I watched them train, they had beautiful bodies, of course. They had shape and strength and tone and curves, and I was a runner for a lot of years in my 20s, and I got smaller, but I didn't get any more shape. I just got smaller, and I wanted their shape. And they were training with weights. And in those days, there was no music, no TVs in the gym, no nothing. It was just these 5 girls from the Alberta downhill ski team, and they were in there not saying a word to either one. Like, nobody was saying a word to anybody. They were so focused on their training, and they were so dedicated to the movement and so much in their body when they were lifting and squatting and lunging. I remember looking at them and thinking, they're on another planet there. Like, what is that? What is their calling? What is drawing them into that? And it was that level of commitment and focus and vision. And I said to my then boyfriend, that's what I want to do. And I said, yeah, I love their bodies. I'd love to get a body like that. But more than that, it spoke to my level of discipline and striving, because I was always striving for something. I was always having to work at something, because I love work. I love to work. And so I got into the gym, and that was when I was early 20s. And then life happened. And then in my late 20s, I ran up against some bad stuff, and I started getting panic attacks, and I was housebound for well over a year. And I sought help, but I didn't do any kind of medication. I wanted to get to the root of it, so I went deep into counseling, deep, like 3 times a week for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. A lot of money. I didn't care. I paid and borrowed and took out a line of credit because I needed to get myself back, and I was going to do whatever it took. She was a very gifted lady. She also had a very strong metaphysical background, and so that was where I first came into the woo-woo, if you will, and it was such a blessing for me because it totally changed my world. And I learned to use my mindset, my thinking, to abate the overwhelming panic attacks. And it was really about surrendering. It wasn't about controlling them. It was about surrendering. So that was my first go around, and I did a lot of growth in that time. And that was when I first started heading into a lot of thought leaders, a lot of amazing mentors and gurus, and I took classes. And I was I'm still an avid student of it for sure. And fast forward, got a mortgage, got married, had a baby, and here I am at 40 years old. And my son, who was now 5 when I was 40, he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So some of you guys know what that is. Some of you guys know my story. And it is a degenerative, and at this point, it's a terminal condition. And it's where all the muscles break down in the body. So here I was, a woman who was building up muscles and teaching and coaching other women how to build up muscle. And I gave birth to a child with a muscle wasting disease. So the irony wasn't lost on me for sure. But what happened was, in that intense pain, that angst, that deep, deep, dark night of the soul, where my only child had this terrible condition, and they lay it out for you what's going to happen. You know, he's going to lose the ability to walk, and then he's going to lose the ability to do simple things like shower and bathing and feeding, and certainly no ability to drive or any of that kind of stuff. And it just keeps downplaying. So all of this was going through my mind, and I was just frazzled. So here I was at the top of my fitness game, and I had already won I had already done 4 shows at that time. And did really well, and I was the overall Alberta champ. And then he was diagnosed, it would have been 5, 6, 7 years later, and my body fell apart, totally fell apart. And I was, I couldn't walk around the block. It was like I was catatonic. Of course, I was still trying to come to terms with Tristan's diagnosis. All of a sudden, we were in the medical area, all the doctors, all the specialists, because it's only 1 in every 3,500 male births, so not a lot of people around. So they kind of wanted to see, and so there was a lot of that going on, and it was just a totally different world. My world was the gym, and my world was being born into a family where there was no disability, no disease. I didn't have any of that. I was so green behind the ears. And then all of a sudden there was all these peripherals and all these special education classes and all this stuff. And Tristan was starting to lose the ability to walk. And in that time, my body fell apart, and they did all sorts of searches looking for stuff. And I was finally deemed somebody who had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and my body was in pain. It was racked in pain 24/7. I lost a lot of weight. Obviously, I couldn't train. So what came of this was, I remember thinking, I don't want him to be a victim to this disease, and I don't want our family to be the victim of this disease. I didn't want the neighbors going, oh my God, life, we thought our life was hard. Look at the McCoy family. And I thought, oh man, don't let that be our reality. So that was when I went back into my spiritual practices, and I started working with a very gifted spiritual intuitive, and I worked with her, she's still in my life. 25 years later, and I would drive like 12 hours to go see her and stay at her place over the weekend, and I did that for years, learning and growing with her, because, and some of you guys know this, when there's nothing left to lose, or you feel there's nothing left to lose, you're open to anything, right? So I said it was like living without my skin. So I was open to absolutely everything, and so that was when I fully immersed myself in the metaphysical world. And what I came to understand was that I would go to the gym and try to piece myself back together, because I probably quit training for a couple of years. My mind was blown, and I thought, I thought, like a lot of people think, well, how can I even think about training or think about healthy eating? I have this huge volcano in my life. What I came to realize was that I needed to turn that around because I was losing myself. And all those years of training had built a strong body. It had built a good shaped body that was winning shows. But even though I was at the pinnacle of my health, winning shows, eating exceptionally well, all of that kind of stuff, the emotional and spiritual load of what I was managing with that news of my son, it couldn't support me. That was when everything was disassembled for me. And that was when I started thinking, okay, what is health and wellness really about? And that was when I started pulling in the emotional and the spiritual pieces. And when I started doing that, I was slowly bringing the health back into my body because I was seeing it in a different way. I used to feel guilty about having a strong body, having a capable body when my son's body was breaking down. And then it clicked when I don't even know where I was, but I remember the moment when it clicked. I went, oh my God, I have to stay strong for him. I have to stay healthy for him. He's my family. He's my boy. I have a marriage that I was trying to hold together, which was really, really tough, just with the chaos of it. And we were both in the middle of this intense grief. And I realized I had to reframe, and I had to find my way out of this, like I had to do with the panic attacks, which I had to reframe. And I had to come to a place of acceptance and surrender. And when you surrender is when the good stuff comes up. And I constantly have to surrender, and it's never a done deal. So you can't surrender and then go, whoo, glad that's over with, and go back to your normal life. That's the dark night of the soul. It changes you. It changes you, but you lose faith, you lose yourself, and you just don't know if you're going to get out of it. And that was what I felt for years. But I was able to slowly reframe it, and the deeper I got into the metaphysical work, the more behind the veil I went and had experiences behind the veil, and started recognizing that it's not just the five senses. I was a meat and potatoes gal. I was like, what you see is what you get, and you're in control of your world. Well, that was blown to shit when this hit the fan. And that was when I really had to reassess and reframe every single day, every single thought, every single belief system, every single conditioning that I had. And it took time, but I needed to do it because I felt like I was drowning. And so I came to an understanding of, I need to continue to train my body. I need to continue to feed it well. Because if I don't, then I am not good for my son. I'm not going to be able to support him. But not only that, we have to be here for our loved ones. And so that's where I'm at today, guys. And I want to touch on a few things. Because when I work with women, a lot of women that come on the phone, and in the questionnaire I ask, what stresses are you under, or what stresses happen that you feel are still pertinent and happening in your life, having an impact on your life. And there's always something from women, and I get that because it's tough being a woman with all of the responsibilities, all the challenges, everything that we have to deal with, let alone having life throw all this stuff at us, right? And I talk to so many women that say, well, I was doing really good, and then such and such happened. And then I gave up on stuff. Or it can also cause us to overeat, binge eating, whatever it happens to be. Some women undereat. Some women lose themselves. They lose their immune system. They lose their strength. They lose their muscle. I've had women doing that too. I was one of those, but I'm the rare one. Usually people either go to food, or they go to alcohol, or they go to other things. We all have our outs, right? And so what I'm saying is, when life hits you, don't be like the majority, because this is what I hear all the time. And I'm always pushing my women to not be the majority, not to follow mainstream. Get out of the group think. Stop talking like everybody else. Life is so hard. We're in a recession. Food prices are high. Politics are shitty. Our medical system is failing. Can you feel what that feels like as I'm saying it? It's like, ooh, 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 right? Like attracts like. And it doesn't mean that we're turning a blissful eye to any of this stuff. But when we regurgitate it and follow along with everybody else blaming and complaining, we're going to get that into our cells. And that is going to fester, guys, because thoughts are things, and you guys know this. And you guys who are on the mastery program with us, we go into this a lot. This is science. This is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And the vibration and the frequency that you're at is going to define whether you see something as, this is important to me and I need to move through it and I can get through this. And to have faith and be able to, it may not be the way you want. Certainly I don't want my son to have this disease, but he does. So I've reframed it. Okay, here we are with this. Now what? When you say yes, but, you are resisting life. And when you're in resistance, that is when you drop down in your frequency and you're in shame, anger, guilt, fear, frustration, jealousy, resentment. Those kill your cells, guys. I am a firm believer that there is an emotional makeup to every start to feel a shift. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's an emotional component to every disease state long before it even shows up. My body proved that to me. I'm one of those people, and I wish I wasn't, but even when I do my numbers and even when I go into any kind of spiritual work, they all say the same thing. You need to go through the experience in order for you to learn it at a cellular level to teach it to other women. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I wish I didn't, but at the same time, I trust that if I go through something, somehow this is going to have an outcome where I'm going to teach it to other women. Everything that comes into my life, guys. So everything I teach my clients is everything I've had to live through and everything I've learned and grown from. It's not textbook. It's not textbook. Yes, information and knowledge is important. Yes, certification is important. But more important is the journey. But having an awareness and a consciousness in that journey. So many people have a journey that they just resist. And they just want to get through it. And they will only be happy when that piece is done. Guys, happiness is a choice. You can't wait for external circumstances to define your level of happiness or success. It just can't. Because there's always going to be something, and you guys know it, especially at this age. My dad always said, life isn't fair. Yeah, I get that. But he also said to me, life gets easier as you get older. Well, maybe in his generation, but certainly not in today's age, right? So life gets harder, and here's the deal. You've got to have a habit of proper, healthy living. Movement and food, you're getting it good, Colleen. Movement and food has to be the foundation of the physical structure that we're in, because this body is what carries us through life. And I know dearly the sensitivity and the care that has to happen with the body, because my son doesn't have that kind of healthy body. And I always say everybody has somebody in their life who, if they could, would trade anything to be healthy again. So train and feed yourself well for somebody else who can't, guys. That's it. And this vessel takes us through life. And when I see women hurting their bodies and stuffing it with shitty food, or binging, or purging, or fasting, or not moving, gaining 50, 100, 200 pounds, it's like, where are you not healing? Because it's not a food problem. It's a thinking problem. It is unhealed pieces of us. So getting a strong ritual and strategy around your movement, around your food, around your metabolism, staying decently lean. You don't have to be super lean, guys, but you can't have excess on your body. Get that, because when the poop hits the fan, guys, you can't, I have a saying, you can't shutter the windows when the storm is upon you. This has to become a habit and a ritual. They have to be in play. And then you make them your normal. Because stuff is going to happen. And some of you have gone through a lot of stuff. I've talked to a lot of you guys. I have a lot of women in my program that are going through tough stuff. It happens to everybody, varying degrees, varying speeds, but it's going to happen. And you need to be prepared physically because that is the vessel, that's the foundation, right? Then you need to go in and hopefully you have some kind of a metaphysical or spiritual underpinning to be able to manage the emotional and spiritual, soulful, heart-centered piece of it. Because if you don't have that, you're going to be like me, where my body fell apart, my marriage fell apart, my ability to mother fell apart. I couldn't work. I couldn't train. And it was because I didn't have the structure and framework and a strong foundation of mindset to be able to manage. And I'm not talking thinking here. I'm talking a soul-centered, being connected to source energy, whatever you want to call it, to be able to say, okay, this is not nice, this is a shitty journey, but I'm here and I'm doing it and I'm okay and it's all going to be okay, right? Very few people have that. And what happens is when the poop hits the fan, they drop their healthy living. They don't go to the gym. They don't manage their food, and that is when you need to do it. You need to change that thinking around in your head, because if you don't have that, you can't get it when the shit hits the fan, guys, because you're in chaos. And so this is why we build this skill set, the physical, the nutritional, the mental, and the spiritual. That's all the work that I do to create that foundation. It's like a house on concrete instead of a house on sand. So in my earlier days, it was all about the body, having a great body, having strength, having shape, all that stuff. I'm winning shows, yay. And then life hit once and life hit twice. And that was when the real stuff came up. So a couple of things. When life hits you, you need to have a movement plan. I do weights. The reason I do weight training is because for me, and I wrote about this in my book, it's called One Rep at a Time, I needed to be able to assert my power over the weight. So to pick up that 20-pound dumbbell and do curls, do leg work, whatever, it got me back into my power. I love yoga. I'm a yoga instructor, certified. I love all the other forms, but it wasn't enough for me. I needed to get that angst and grief and fear out of my body. And strength training was the way to do it for me. So that is where I got my fuel. And when people say, oh, I can't train during a time like this, I'm like, I have to train. I have to train. A lot of you guys are runners, and you know that. You have to run. It's a stress reliever. So is weight training. But I needed to keep my body strong and healthy as well, because stress and challenge is going to take your vitality and your energy and your life like nothing else. Then I had to make sure I was feeding it well. I wanted to binge on Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but that's not really my thing. So food wasn't necessarily the challenge. Years ago, it was drugs and alcohol. Okay, so a lot of people, once they're over that, they might turn to food, or they might turn to online shopping or Botox or whatever. I didn't have that, but I would immerse myself in isolating myself, which again is another habit that is not a healthy habit, because I would go down the rabbit hole, almost to a place of almost wanting to self-destruct, because I didn't know how to handle the challenges, and it was playing out in my body, and I was sick. And so I needed to return to my practice, my rituals of healthy eating and movement. And I have done it ever since. And my son's condition continues, and it gets harder and harder and harder and harder. Then when that happens, I go into the gym, and I do, and I do, and I do, and I do. Because life can take you out if you let it, but your body is depending on you. So when I'm on a phone call with a woman, and she's like, yeah, I gave it all up because I got divorced. Okay, so did I. I got divorced. I'm on my second marriage. And even when Tristan was diagnosed, it took me a while to come back, but I did come back. Some women never came, they haven't come back for 20 years. right? Or they've had somebody pass on in their world. I get that, and that's really challenging. We talk about that, and I say, are you ready to get yourself back? It doesn't mean getting yourself back means you're selfish and you're not deep in the grieving process, because some people feel they need to grieve to show their love for that person who's passed on. It's not true. It's not true, guys. Your body is your body, and we have to take care of it. And unless we take care of it, we are not serving ourselves and our family, because we have to be there for our loved ones as well. I have to be there for my son. I have to stay strong. I have to stay healthy. I have to get my sleep. I have to stay hydrated. So it's more about a lifestyle. I call myself a lifestyle athlete instead of a competitor, because this life, at any time, something can shift. And when it shifts, I'm ready, I'm primed, I'm grounded, I'm strong. My immune system is strong. I know how to get through this. I know how to do this. So your body needs, sorry, I'm just checking my list here. I haven't even looked at my list. So your body needs proper nutrients. Your body carries the weight of the stress. You must get it out of your body. I also see it as a quiet time, a time to go inward for me. Even if I'm in a crowded gym, I put on my headphones. I don't wear my glasses so I can't see anybody. It's great. I'm in my own little bubble. And I often close my eyes when I'm training because I'm meditating or I'm working on my power words. Again, people go, I'm so bored with training. It's like, seriously? Get your friggin' brain on board. That's the problem. And I find my quiet space. Sometimes I go into my own private gym here on the property. And sometimes I go in and I'll just lay down and cry. Seriously. I'll lay down on a mat and I'll have a good cry. And it's okay. And I honor that. And then I get up and then I'm like, okay, let's do some work. Today's arm day. Let's do some arms. And I move with the flow. I'm not in resistance. I'm not holding back. I'm not deflecting. There is strength in being able to allow all the feelings to come out, because when you do, it's releasing itself from the body, and it's validating your feelings. So many women have been hanging on to their stories, hanging on to their fear, their crises, their childhood stuff for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And when we start releasing that, and we start moving the body, so we get in touch with the body again, because we have a body, but so many people are divorced from it. And we start understanding where the feelings are held in the body, which is what I do as an empowerment coach. And start opening the lines of communication, and then start nourishing our body with good food. Remember, our cells are innocent bystanders. They have no say in what you're putting into the body, and are just trying to do the best with the raw materials you're giving it. So if you're giving it shit, then your body is going to suffer, guys. Seriously. So the quiet time is when I go into the gym and it's my time. And a lot of time I speak to God, I speak to my angels, I pray, I journal, I cry, I train. I definitely train. I don't care if anybody's watching me. I honestly don't care. It's that spotlight thing they call it. I just learned about that today. Everybody thinks everybody's looking at them. We're pretty self-centered. What I learned about being in the gym for the last 40 years, nobody's looking at you. Like, they don't care. They're all looking at themselves in the mirror, right? So, or they're looking at the girl with all these hot, trendy clothes that they're wearing. Woo! That's not me. I am like sloppy clothes. I don't like to be. I just want to do my own thing in comfort. So I'm not there to be on show. And honestly, a lot of those women have better bodies than me. And I'm looking at them going, whoo, yeah, baby. You got it. You got it going on. A lot of people see, and you guys are going to run up against this, a lot of people see going to the gym when the shit hits the fan. How can you? Well, how can I not? You need to turn that meaning around. We are meaning-making machines. And society is going to always try to shame and blame you. And if you join them, you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're not moving the sisterhood ahead in any way, shape, or form. And it needs to move ahead. And I go to the gym when life gets hard. I do feed my body well. because I need to, and I need to honor my body, and I need to support the immune system, the recovery system. I need to support cellular health. I need to stay well for this life, because this life is going to take you out again, and I'm going to be ready for the next one, right? So when people say you're pretty selfish, it's like, don't even listen to that. It's self-care. It's not selfish. I want you guys to start turning the meaning around when the poop hits the fan. When you see it as, okay, not do I have to, I get to. I get to practice self-care. I get to remind myself what is important. And I get to hang on to my health. The best way to stay healthy is to not lose it, guys. Seriously. Just don't lose it. Just continue to do what you do at the best of your ability. And sometimes it's going to take a while. Sometimes it might be months until you get over and you're feeling, okay, I can get back at it. I always say, I don't worry if my female clients fall away. I worry if they stay away. Because that's also when we create a story around it and we go into shame and guilt, or we start blaming, well, this happened and this happened. And I'll say, when did that happen? Well, 10 years ago. Okay, do you see what's at work here? Some women see it, some women don't want to see it, some women get mad at me. Well, you don't know how tough it is. Yeah, I do. I do. So it's really important that we reframe everything. Everything is a story, guys. And the story is, how can you think about doing that because this has happened? My story is, I need to do it because this has happened. And that's a story that I've ingrained in me. It's a practice. It's a habit. Even when I don't want to, guys, and there's a lot of days I don't feel like it, but there's a lot of days my son hasn't slept well and I haven't slept. And I'm careful when I'm in the gym. Certain things I don't do if I haven't slept. I don't squat. I don't do big movements. But I still get my ass in there. Because even if it's just to show up for 20 minutes, that is about keeping the promise to self. So just show up and just be there in that space, and you'll eventually get deeper into it, and you won't let it go as readily the next time the poop hits the fan. I hope that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions here? I'm going to check the comments here. It helps me so much, especially with chronic pain and fatigue. Yeah, totally. Doesn't it? Yeah. And if you call it fibromyalgia, I don't know what you call it. I mean, it's just, for me, here's the deal, guys. I've learned how my body reflects stress in my life, and it's through the musculature. So, I mean, they've done a lot of work on fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, and I kind of went into it a bit, but I really had to get back into the body and the spiritual piece of it, because you can just, keep reading and reading and reading. Everybody's going to be an expert, don't you know? Everybody's an expert. I'm an expert on my body, and that's because I've taken the time, and I am in constant communication with it, and I know how it works. Some people, when they're stressed, they get migraines. Other people get digestive issues. I've never had digestive issues. I've never had a migraine. Some people get heart. Heart's a big one. Heart is also with unresolved anger, guys. So we have to be really, really careful about that. And that this is where anger needs to be burned off. If it's not burned off, it goes deep, deep into the cells. Lower back pain and heart challenges. My dad died at 47 of heart. Monday morning in his bed. I never equate my heart with his. I don't look at it and go, oh, there's heart disease in my family because of. Well, maybe there is, but at the same time, the way he lived was ultra stressed, ultra grief, ultra anger. And I know that had a big piece of undermining his poor heart. And it just couldn't sustain the stress of holding on to that for years. And at 47, he had a massive heart attack. What else have I got to say about that? So don't see your training, your exercise, and your healthy food strategy as an embellishment. I see it as a necessity. It is absolutely necessary for me to look at it and reframe it. Every day I do, and be able to use my skill set to be able to get through the challenges in life. And if I could just finish with this, if you're having challenges in your world, I get it. And again, I think I've gone through a lot of stuff, so it would make me a better coach, be able to empathize, and also to be able to do this deeper work and have a fuller understanding of the holistic aspect of living healthy and aging well. It is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I have devoted half of my life to working through that and understanding it and working with women in that place. So when women say, oh, you're just the weight loss girl, I'm like, oh, girlfriend, you have no idea. And that's okay. The weight is not the problem, it's a symptom, right? So yes, stress, there's all this talk about cortisol. Cortisol is not the reason you have 50 extra pounds. It might be the reason you have an extra, maybe 5, okay? And I'm only saying that because this is the latest thing is cortisol. It was something else a few years ago. There's always science, and then everybody grabs a hold of it. Mainstream is funny, and we all want to, there's this group activity that happens when it comes to things in the news, and then they grab a hold of it, and everybody's talking that. So I don't watch the news, but I know what's happening because I see all of the trainers they all go left together, then they all go right together. It's kind of like the birds in the sky. I don't know if you've noticed it. I'm on Vancouver Island here, and I'm seeing all the birds coming back for the summer, and they're all in the V shape. They call that entrainment, where the head bird, and they don't know how they do it, but they can all just shift together, just magically shift together. And that's kind of what happens with human nature too, is people magically shift together over to, well, this is better, or this is better. And I think it's just a way to conform because we are wired to conform. And this is what we've learned. What was the book I read? Oh, this is a lovely book. You guys might like this. So he talks a lot about it. We do a lot of reading in my program too. So right now I'm picking up Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, and he does talk about the need to conform, and it's really powerful in our human psyche. But again, if we're going to live with freedom, and if we're going to live a deep, rich, purposeful, fulfilling life in a healthy, lean, strong body, then we have to do the inner work, and it has to happen every day. You can't wait till something happens. You have to make it a practice, and we do a whole bunch. We do morning mindset rituals, we do mantras, we do a belief detox, we look at archetypes, we look at triggers, we look at different energetic frequencies, how to move through them, how to feel them in your body, what do they mean, how we turn it around so we're up into the higher echelons of joy and peace and love and gratitude, being grounded, being empowered. This all takes time, but it's very, very doable. And if any of you guys are interested, book a call with me. It's warriorwomanfitness.com/apply. And I do calls with ladies. Yes, the calls are free. And yes, I do have a paid program. I don't coach for free. And some women are like, oh, you're going to sell me on something. No, I'm not, because I have to see if you qualify for my program. I'm very fussy with who I work with, because there has to be a certain level of openness, and there has to be a certain level of understanding and a commitment. And that commitment is time, resources, some family changes too have to happen, right? Because you're going to be changing, your family has to be able to support that. All sorts of different things have to happen. So it's really important that women understand that what we do takes time, and it takes consistency and patience. That is big C coaching, guys. That is the most important piece. It's not the workout. And it's not the food. That's actually the easy part. We get that in place almost right away. And then we massage it along the way with your biofeedback to see what's working, what's not. Has your metabolism popped up? Are you losing weight at a decent rate? Where's your body fat? That's the easy part. It's all the other stuff that most people are missing. And they look at it and go, well, it's because this happened, or I got stressed, or this or this. Okay, so what are you making it mean? So remember, we're meaning-making machines. What are you making it mean when you fall away? What are you making it mean when you're going to grab off food plan and you know that you shouldn't, but you do? Or what are you not wanting to see or feel or recognize? That's the other piece of it, right? So aging, I'll just finish with this. Aging can be a beautiful thing. To age well it's an art form, guys. It's not about, I asked one woman what she goes, well, it means not having gray hair and not showing my belly. And what else did she say? And being able to go on a cruise. I'm like, okay, great. If that's your idea of healthy aging, then that's fine. But my idea of healthy aging is I want to be strong, I want to be lean, I want to be healthy, I want to be there for my family. I want to know that whatever's coming down that path, I will be able to withstand it in a way that's going to let it come in, surrender into it, learn the lessons, and let it go. That's the best piece, guys. And be able to move up into living a full, empowered, purposeful life. So right now in my program, we're working on vision statements, and I'm asking my women, what is your life's purpose? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I get it. Like, I get it. I get it. If somebody had asked me that 30 years ago, or maybe longer, 40 years ago, I would have gone, I don't know, to be the best bodybuilder, to be a good parent, to be a good, to own a business. And it's like, no, and no. Those are roles, and those are important, guys. I know what my purpose is, and it's taken me a long time, but I promised myself I was not going to leave this planet until I found it and I'm living it. Because when I go off this planet, I want to make sure that I am embodying health and wellness on all levels, and I am here to serve. Guys, we're all here to serve. Every single one of us. We're not our roles. We're not our body. We're not our money or our status. Those things are great. They're embellishments. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with money. But when we don't have a purpose-driven life, then we're going to, and I see this with my mother, we're going to come to the end of our life and we're going to be bitter or withdrawn or say, is that all there is? Or I wish I had had more courage when this happened. I wish I had turned left instead of turning right. Right? My purpose on this planet is to see the greatness in every woman I come across, not just work with, but come across, and bring her up into the light, see the greatness of her, and bring her up to the truth of who she is so she can see it and carry it for herself. That's it. One sentence. And I live it every day. And when I'm down, or when I've had a client hang up on me or tell me I was called, what was I called the other day? Oily salesperson? Slimy salesperson? Is that what it was? Because I offered her a position working with me. Yes, I do charge for that. Of course. And she said, well, you're just trying to sell me. And I went, okay, you know what? I recant that. I'm taking it back. We're not going to work together then. All along, I was fooled. I wasn't looking at the signs, right? So everybody comes at their own level of experience and their own level of openness. And if you're open and you're curious and you're committed and you're coachable, guys, you have to be coachable, which means that you got to raise your hand. You got to ask questions. There is an abundance of knowledge and experience out there. And if you don't draw from it, probably it's because there's a fear, maybe. I don't know, a fear of, I don't know, whatever it is. Because I do have some clients that when I work with them, suddenly they disappear. It's like, where did you go? And I'm emailing because I'm one of those coaches. I'm finding you. Where'd you go? Well, I wasn't doing well, so I didn't want to show up. And I'm like, that's when you need to show up. Sister, there's no judgment. It's a judgment-free, guilt-free, shame-free zone. Because we have been living and immersed and swimming in those toxic emotions, many of us, for a long, long time. And unless we find another way, and unless we dare to risk and challenge and get out of that, we're going to stay there. See, here's a universal law. Nature abhors a vacuum. What does that mean? So we go through universal laws. So there's the confirmation bias, there's the fear bias, there's as above, so below, but there's also nature abhors a vacuum. What that means is, if you are taking something out of your life, okay, which can be a good thing. You want to take that behavior, that person even, that husband or wife, take them out, unless you replace it with a different framework, something different, you're going to get the same back. You're going to get the same back because there's a hole there, you see. And when there's a hole, the universe goes, oh, can't have that. We got to put back. This is why sometimes, and this is why I did this in my 20s, I dated the same kind of guy. Right? Year after year after year, it was the same kind of person because I wasn't consciously creating what I wanted. We are co-creators of our universe. Okay? The universe will meet us halfway. But this determines what we're putting out there, what we want, and that's the quantum theory, guys. Again, this is something we go into. When we put out there what we want and walk as if, you don't have to have it to believe it, guys. That's the deal. You get it when you feel it. It's a feeling universe, not a thinking universe. And you put that out there. We're doing the same play. Yeah, with a different man. I know it. When you put that out there, then you start creating. So after all of my bad men in my 20s, I finally went, I'm done with this. Okay, you know what? I know some of this shit and I'm going to put it into action. So I sat down and I created, I still have my journal. That was from, how long have I been with my husband? 95. It's 25 years ago. I sat down. I was a single mom. I was broke. My ex, my son's dad, walked out, left me with nothing. I'm in school trying to finish my degree. So I take on a second job as a writer at night to try to make some money. I was writing for the forestry when we lived in the interior, and I got some financial support to put him in care, when I was at school, and it was the worst of times. But I was able to craft a list. Okay, this is what I want, and I wrote down everything, right down to what he looks like. He had to be a dog owner because I love dogs. My first husband did not. That should have been a sign. What kind of education? I wanted post-secondary education. I wanted him to have been married, but to not have children because I didn't want to do the stepmother thing. I had way too much going on. But I wanted him to understand the journey of marriage, right? I didn't want a first-timer. And I wanted him to be outdoorsy and athletic in the gym, and a non-smoker. 6 months later, Neil walked into my life. And when we got married, I brought that journal out and I read it to everybody in the audience. And it was like, oh my God, the power around that. And every day I focused on that, and I had that and I read it all the time because you have to get it into your cells. And then what happens is, guys, here's my last thing. When you envision it, you must feel it. And that is the mindset work. And then you just have to let go the how, but you still have to continue to stay in that. And when you stay, I know it was amazing. And when you stay in that, it's out there creating energy like this, and it's drawing stuff to it. It was Deepak Chopra that said, and this was when I read him 35, maybe even 40 years ago, he said, put what you want out to the universe and be clear and simple and put feeling into it and hold on to it. And the universe has to bow to your wish, and you will find it what did he say? It would bring the universe to its knees. In other words, you have it. Most people dream and wish and then they let it go. Or you know what happens? Well, it's not working. It's not working. I've had to do that in business because I've been a coach for 30 years, and then I changed from selling stuff for like next to nothing to finally making it a business where I can support my family and do awesome work. But I had to change my thinking around it. So it was that scarcity mentality that I had to shift. And I still do it. I have my Book of Awesome. I don't even know where it is. Everything that I do, the clients that I want, who I've supported, and I go through my Book of Awesome and everything every single day so that I know I'm making a difference and this is who I am, to stay in tune with what I do as a coach. And we can do it as a wife. We can do it as a mother. We can do it as finding your true romance. Last night in our mastery call, I brought in relationship coach Charlene Byers. Some of you guys may know her. She and I went through the empowerment coaching program 7 years ago together, and she is like a lady on fire. She is so much fun, and she helps with relationships. And we were talking about this, and what's really cool is that people don't envision who they want. They just kind of fall into, oh, he's sexy or she's sexy, that looks good, and there's not always a lot of thought. So it was actually really funny. But what I found was that every woman on the call, everybody had something that they need to work through, right? And so life is always happening to us. So no, that's wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Life is happening for us, not to us. It was Anthony Robbins that corrected me on that. Life is happening for us, not to us. So if you want to book a call, guys. I know this was a longer one, but I really, really, really want you ladies to understand that life happens. It's okay. It's okay if the wind is taken out of your sail. It's okay if you go down that rabbit hole. I was there for a long time until I said enough is enough. But sometimes some women don't get out of it. And they stay down there, and that's when they hurt their body with bad thoughts. And the Book of Awesome. Oh yeah, it is great. Yes, Isabel. I should show it to you guys. So Isabel's in our mastery program, and I'll have to show it to you. It's around here somewhere. And I've got so many journals and so many notebooks. But when you build and read, this is the stuff that goes into who we are. Yeah, book a call, Colleen. We need to talk, okay? We need to talk, girlfriend. No more sitting on the fence for you. It's okay, I can talk to Colleen that way. I know her. I'm really not that mean. But life happens, stress happens, and you guys can move through this with grit. And oh, hi, Kelly. Sister-in-law. Hi, girlfriend. Nice to see you here. We need to chat. She's way at the other end of the country. But we're going to be coming that way soon, Kelly. Crazy sister and me are coming. We'll have to let our crazy brother know too. We're not sure when, but we're coming home to see all you guys and see Mom. Okay, you guys, listen, with that, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for listening. Please believe in yourself. Please know you have the strength. Please honor your body. Feed it well, move it well. Even when the shit hits the fan, do the best you can and always come back, guys, because this life is hard. I'm going to start crying, but it's a life worth living. I promise. It's a good life. You just have to dig deep, and then you have a really rich, rewarding life like nothing else. Nothing can touch you, no matter what comes along. No matter what comes along now, I'm telling you, it's like, I got this, and I know it's going to hurt. It's okay. It's okay. The only way out is through, and you got to feel to heal. And then the body and the weight will come off, and the body will come back into a place where you can be proud of it again. I promise you. Okay. Hugs to you guys. Thank you. Hi, Marilyn. Nice to see you here too. Thank you, guys. Lots of love to you, and thank you for listening. Okay? Love yourself into health. All right. Ciao.